What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the very first maiden episode of our brand new 5-bike giveaway series. So this is our feature bike for today, the Suzuki SV650X. We're giving this motorcycle away, so hit the link down below, go to yamanib.co and check it out. This XSR700 is actually already spoken for, heading off to Peter in Michigan. Did I get that right? Yep. First try, can you believe it? A consummate professional over here at Yamanib. Stick around, it's gonna be a good video. Let's get into it.
So in putting together this video here last night, I was kind of baffled by the fact that people in the motorcycle press aren't really setting these bikes up as competitors. You know, they're saying the SV650 competes with stuff like the CB650R, or the CBR650R rather, and this is competing with stuff like the Ducati Scrambler series, but they didn't compare these directly, and I think they really are comparable motorcycles because on paper, they're more or less the same.
Yeah.
So, the main difference here, obviously, is just clip-ons versus bars. It's a V-twin versus parallel twin. But when we really dive into it, there are very few differences between these motorcycles. So why don't you start with the XSR700 right here?
Yeah, sure thing. So the XSR700, as many of you guys know, is based on Yamaha's sort of very much lauded FZ07/MT07 platform. So it features that lovable 689cc parallel twin with a 270-degree crank, has a wonderful low-end bark to it, makes about 75 horsepower and a very juicy amount of torque. That's an exact figure, don't quote me. This motorcycle also features very standard, ubiquitous 180/55, 120/70 tire size. You can get anything for this thing, which I really like because it means you can slap on all kinds of different sport bike or touring or even some bigger adventure style tires on it. It's a pretty versatile motorcycle. And overall, it's just a really peppy, fun platform. This thing wheelies super easily, super comfortable to spend a day in the saddle on it. And it's just a really fantastic ride. It's actually your favorite of our last giveaway that we did.
Oh, 100%, yeah. And when you compare it to the SV650, this thing has a 90-degree V-twin, otherwise known as an L-twin by the Ducatistas out there.
Secret Ducati with its frame and engine.
And that is a 645cc L-twin that makes about 75 horsepower and 47 foot-pounds of torque. It's a little bit down on the 50 that this has. However, it is basically the same when you're sitting in the saddle. It weighs about 20 pounds more at 433 pounds wet, and it does wear a slightly different rear tire, which is a 160 versus a 180 section on the XSR. It does have slightly more features too, which is kind of crazy given price point. More on that in a minute. It's got preload adjustable front forks, preload adjustable rears. It's got an idle control, which I believe is just that knob that you can turn.
Does it really?
Yes, it does.
I actually didn't know that. Okay.
Yes, it has idle control in it.
Interesting.
It's got ABS, and honestly, I do like the dash setup on this quite a bit more. And while it's not necessarily a list feature, this little reservoir here is a very cool addition to this motorcycle.
I agree. You don't see that in the 650 class hardly at all. This one has that little square one. It just means you can put a little res cover on there and just have it look a little bit cooler as well. So the XSR over here kind of doesn't really have any features, so to speak, and I think it's a really cool touch that Suzuki gives you preload adjustable front suspension and rear on that. At least you're getting a little bit of dialing in. For this, you have the standard issue Yamaha pogo stick front end suspension and a preload adjustable shock at the rear. That's about it. As many of you guys know, one of my main gripes with the XSR is it's pretty non-compliant suspension. Being a fast boy that I am and going on track a lot, I noticed that mid-corner this thing just doesn't really do what I want it to do. Easy fix overall, but I do like that the SV comes with that. If you're looking for a retro bike that has old school style but modern amenities, what's that gonna cost you? Well, they're actually much closer in price than you think. Yamaha is gonna sell you this thing for $84.99 MSRP, and the Suzuki is $100 cheaper, right?
Yeah, $83.99, which is kind of crazy given what it's got baked in over this guy right here.
It's true, it makes the XSR look a little bit overpriced.
Mm-hmm.
So given that these motorcycles are so dang similar, there's only one way to find out which one is actually better or worse, and it's taking them on a ride. All right, guys, we're mounted up now on both bikes. We're going to be checking them out and kind of looking at them here really quick. You know, I mean, the headlight, I think, is, well, I don't know where they sourced it from, but they look almost exactly the same. Here, come look at this.
All right.
Really funny. These almost look like the same motorcycles, but just we've modified them differently.
That's a 5 3/4. That's a 7-inch headlight, though.
Oh, that is bigger. You're right. Yeah, this is the tiny one.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
This would look better with a bigger headlight because then you wouldn't have these right there.
Yeah, but I mean, you can really tell they're both going for that, you know, retro classic vibe, and I think both succeeding. I mean, the seats on both bikes are really what's setting it off for me. You got the little classic brown seat on the Suzuki. This one has the stitching on it. They both got just enough flair to give them the retro feel.
And the brat seat that we wanted to put on that but ran out of time is basically just this.
Yeah, that would have looked so cool on this. And of course, we got to keep it repping with the Yamaha logo on the black there. Look how good that looks.
Right into the metal flake that they've got in there.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I'd noticed that. It looks really nice in the sunlight. Alrighty, everybody. So we are heading off here on City Park Road. This is Spite and I's, one of our favorite little sort of proving grounds for... there's like 5 women in the back of that truck. Interesting.
Yep. We're getting ready to go boating.
Yep. It's one of our favorite roads here in Austin. It's a pretty nice little loop that we do to test our bikes. So we're about to head up here on some twisties and have some fun with them. Spite, what's the first thing you notice on the SV versus the XSR, besides ergonomics?
Yeah, besides ergonomics, because obviously that's the first thing that you notice. The second thing that I notice is just how pokey the little V-twin is. You know?
Yeah, it's a zingy little engine.
It picks up its pace really quickly, and it revs up very fast, you know?
I think it revs up definitely a bit quicker than the XSR, that's for sure.
But the nice thing about the ergonomics is they let you kind of get at it a little bit, you know?
Like the SV650X literally feels like a Twins Cup bike to me. It feels so ready to go and ready to play around on some twisties.
And it's one of those bikes that it feels flattering, you know, when you ride it. It feels like it flatters your skill a little bit. You can lean over, get your knee down, move your shoulders out, get your, you know, chin over the mirror, and you feel like you're going really fast, you know?
Yeah.
Even if you're just like me here, looking fancy, but, you know, leaned over 15 degrees.
Hey man, we're on the street. There's no prize at the end of this road, right?
But
no trophy.
That's why it's so much fun, though, because you can feel you're not going very fast, but you feel like you're going fast.
But I will say this, in terms of the ergos on the SV, you know, even though you get in those clip-ons, it's deceptive because it's actually not a super committed super sport position, because the seat is actually only 31 inches and the foot pegs are actually low like the XSR. So
yeah, it's
this sort of hybrid sport position. It reminds me a lot of when I had my R3 and I put the handlebars a little bit lower to get more tucked in and sporty. It's this weird hybrid sport position on that bike.
But they're nice and wide, so you can really flick the bike around. You know, as long as you stay light on the handlebars, it'll dive and duck and weave all you want.
Yeah, you got plenty of leverage on that thing. It's pretty wide. You can really crank it over on its side pretty easily, and it feels like it's ready to do that. Whereas the XSR, you know, with this standard sport position, feels like it's just comfortable for an all-day ride in the saddle. Maybe not the most, you know, willing to carve up canyons or twisty roads, but it'll happily do it as well, you know? And that's what we were talking about, why naked bikes are so awesome, because they're just really flexible, you know? Like, you can, like you said, put on a pair of clip-ons on the XSR, or you could put on a pair of bars on the SV and kind of make it whatever you want.
Yeah, and it's why I prefer a naked bike to a sport bike, just because you can do whatever you want. And they come in so many different flavors, you know? If you want a big power, you know, absolute mad lad hooligan machine, you go get the MT10. But if you want something that's just cheap, easy to ride, fun, you go get the XSR or the SV650. They're literally basically exactly the same price. So
it is pretty wild how similar they are. I mean, the same horsepower, $100 apart. I mean, you'd swear that the only thing that's different is the headlight size and the bars, but back to back, the riding experiences are pretty different. Like, the suspension on the XSR is that same pogo-y kind of front end odd feeling that it has, whereas the SV doesn't exactly do that for me. How do you feel about the throttle on the SV versus the XSR?
I would say they're about the same. The SV is pretty darn lurchy. You know, it's really not that smooth, but neither's the XSR. So
Yeah, that's one of my big complaints with the SV as a platform when we had ours last year. I did not really appreciate the throttle response on it. It's a little snatchy, a little quick to bite you, and low speeds especially, it's not the greatest thing, honestly.
Yeah, it's real herky-jerky down in like low second, high first gear.
Yeah. Once you get it up and moving, it's not bad, but yeah, low speed, low revs, it's just it's not that great.
But now that we're going through this nice little downhill set of turns, I am noticing the benefit of having these Tokiko brakes, which, as you've said before, are nothing to write home about, but they are better than the stock Yamaha brake calipers that you got on the XSR.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, if the Yamaha brake calipers are a C-, the Tokikos are like a B-, you know?
Yeah.
They're both, neither of them are excellent, but the Suzukis are a little bit better than the Yamahas. But again, you know, if you're, this is coming from two relatively experienced riders, and me as a more of an experienced track day rider, like I demand a lot out of my brakes, and it's a little unfair for me to be like, oh, this sub $10,000 motorcycle doesn't have, you know, Brembo monoblocks on it. I can't believe it. How could this be? But yeah, you gotta understand what these bikes are priced at and what they're trying to give you, and I think they offer a lot for the money, honestly.
It is worth noting that the one of the main mods that some of the more high-performance Harley riders will do is they'll take these Tokikos off of an SV650 and put them on their Harleys. So,
yeah, you were telling me about that, which is crazy how SVs are that moddable.
Yep.
All right, Spite, we're almost at Emma Long Metropolitan Park. Are you ready to chuck these down some single track?
You got about 2 inches of suspension travel before you rip the exhaust off the bottom of that bike.
Lord knows I'm going to try. It's a full test today. You know, just hang to right and we'll go crazy.
Absolute shakedown time.
Yeah. Yeah, we are definitely not going over there. I don't even take my scrambler into that thing.
One thing I will say about the ergonomics that's kind of a negative on this bike is it doesn't allow you to really ride the bike all day, like something like the XSR.
Right.
I tend to rest my weight on my wrists when I'm leaning forward just because it's a bad habit. You really have to get into the habit of grabbing the tank with your knees and really, you know, holding on.
Yeah, so the SV650X, you got to ride it like an actual sport bike. You got to keep your wrist low and the inputs light and squeeze the tank with your knees, and that can be a little committed for people for an all-day ride type of thing, you know?
But that's the beauty of the SV platform, is you can just decide to not get the SV650X and you're getting about the same motorcycle, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, looking at it going down the road, I'm looking at you in my mirrors here, and it looks like you're on a cool cafe kind of authentic motorcycle, which I really appreciate the Suzuki did that, you know?
Yeah, this little fairing actually does kind of a lot to complete the look. You'd think,
really?
You know, a little $20 worth of plastic actually goes quite a long way.
But now is the real question, Spite.
Oh boy, here we go.
Which one is faster? You want to do first gear?
Yep.
3, 2, 1.
You had me, but I think that's down to the weight of
now, I think I would like to point that out to our viewers at home. Since these motorcycles are damn near identical horsepower-wise, it comes down to the fact that Spite weighs about 40 pounds more than I do, and so that's going to make a big difference. I don't know how much I never saw you, so I'm pretty sure I won, but I don't know how much.
No, you walked away.
Oh, okay.
But you were never more than like 2 or 3 car lengths ahead. You weren't like gone.
Yeah, no. So even though the SV has a more committed riding style and looks a little bit more sporty, both bikes are pretty much the same level of acceleration.
But maybe we should find a spot and switch off and see what we think going back to back.
Yeah. I think we got a little spot up here to the left. I'll pull off and we will swap out, because we have the really hard job of riding motorcycles for a living. So
I know, right?
Someone's got to do it, you know. I will say, very tight speed stuff, I always prefer having bars over clip-ons.
Oh, 100%.
Like tight little parking lot maneuvers, it's actually kind of annoying to do it on a bike with clip-ons.
I feel like a god when I'm doing it on the XSR.
You just whoop.
Yep.
Alrighty, jumping on here.
That's my favorite part of this bike.
Yeah, the SV, it's funny. It feels a little longer to me, and it feels like because it has that metal tank, the weight is distributed very differently.
I do like the metal tank, although this, just sitting back down, it feels again like that cruiser length. Just because of how far that headlight sticks out, you know? The clutch feel on the SV is better than on the XSR.
Yes, I agree.
Wow, going back to back, it is crazy how much those handlebars make a difference.
Isn't it? That's why we always talk about ergonomics, man. Yeah, I feel like I'm on a proper little, like, carver right here. Like, this bike just wants to play around.
Yeah, that SV's a weapon.
I really feel like I'm on a little sport bike. This is awesome. Jeez.
But man alive, I'm feeling that XSR suspension just working overtime going through these corners.
Yeah, that's what I was going to point out to you is, the SV definitely has a better suspension package from the factory than the XSR, no doubt about it. Not even just because they're preload adjustable in the front, but just it feels more refined and more controlled going over bumps. The XSR, it's like that pogo stick feeling that I always talk about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very squishy, overly pliant. You can just, as you're riding, you can just mush it down by putting a little bit of weight forward.
Yeah, I cannot believe how sporty the ergonomics are on this bike. It literally feels like I'm on an R6 or something. From the top half of my body out, I'm like on an R6.
It really is just, I feel like I'm on almost like a chopper now. I feel like I need to have my feet forward after getting off of the SV.
Flick it through these corners here. Do a little brake test.
I really missed the clutch on that SV.
I mean, the SV is so sporty that I'm like, where are my tank grips, you know?
Uh-huh.
Geez, you can get full tuck on this thing. That's amazing. So going back to back, maybe they're not so similar, huh, Spite?
Yeah, no, I on paper they are very, very close, but just the immediate difference in the riding style is just so obvious, you know?
Yeah, I'm getting a completely different experience on this bike than I do on the XSR. Like, I'm moving my elbow out here. I'm trying to, like, get proper position on it.
I would say the SV is probably a more rewarding bike to ride.
I would 100% agree. To take it through some twisties, I would 100% agree. Now, is it more rewarding around town? Probably not.
No, it's not. Just the way that the XSR makes its torque in a straight line, so much better. Like second gear coming out of that corner, I just had so much punch. You feel that front wheel get really, really light.
Oh yeah, when we did that little pull onto the straightaway, basically every gear up till third, the front end was light and, lifting on me a little bit. I really don't feel that on the SV.
This will actually be an interesting test. Let's pull up to that stop and do another little bit of a pull.
Yeah. I'm curious to see what you'll think through some of these tighter corners here. They're marked 15 miles per hour, so they're some of the tighter ones on this loop. Curious to see how you feel on the XSR, because I feel pretty damn spicy on this SV.
Honestly, the XSR, it feels fine as long as you don't try and push it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's doing okay. But I don't want to...
I'm amazed at how the SV, like, wants me to push. Like, it wants me to play.
Yeah, this does not reward leaning at all.
This seat also has a really nice scoop at the back here that holds you in place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
not a very comfortable seat, but it is comfortable when you're cooking it.
Yeah. This is a cool bike, man. I like this thing. That little V-twin is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Just wish you could hear it more.
Yeah.
We'll fix that problem soon enough, though.
All right, round two.
God damn, man. I cannot... I don't know how I loved this clutch before. Now it just feels like it's so far out.
Yeah, so much so that you stalled. All right, is anyone coming? I can't see.
Nope.
All right, you ready?
Yep.
Okie dokie. 3, 2, 1.
way closer.
Way closer. But again, with these bikes that don't have a ton of horsepower, rider weight makes a big difference.
Yeah, I feel like if I was just maybe 10 to 15 pounds lighter, I probably would have gotten ahead of you there for a little bit.
Yeah, and it's crazy because the SV also still weighs a good 20 pounds extra over the XSR. So Spite, who do you think should own XSR versus SV650X?
So, going back to back on it, I originally thought I had it completely figured. I am a little bit shook on that now. I feel like this is more for the guy, the XSR, is more for the guy who wants to be able to really just be comfortable and power out of a corner. The way this thing makes torque, it's more fun to whack the throttle wide open as you're standing up going out of a corner. The SV650X, on the other hand, feels more like a sport bike in a naked package, you know? You can really chuck that thing into a corner and just carry your speed through. I feel like the SV650 is for the guy who's not really commuting on it, but is using it as a weekend toy.
Yeah, I am surprised that even though these motorcycles feature almost the same amount of displacement, almost the same, I mean exactly the same horsepower, just given the way the engine makes the power and the ergonomics package on the SV, it couldn't be a more different motorcycle. I mean, this thing, I literally feel when I'm on it like I want to tuck in and I want to get my elbow out and I want to practice good body position with it. I want to rev it out, which is interesting for a V-twin of this caliber. But you really do. You want to rev it out a little bit. I think the SV is happiest between like 6,000 to 9,000 RPM, where I feel like the XSR is happiest between like 4,000 to 7,000 RPM.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean they're both great, but man, I would highly recommend if you are cross shopping these two bikes, which as we mentioned, not a lot of people do, but they should, because you know you can have a retro modern bike that gives you really different flavors and feelings, really different vibes from both of these motorcycles.
But you'll only really know if you go get on them, because sure, in the showroom they feel fairly similar. You feel the forward lean on the SV650, but once you get it going, man alive, they're so different. So different. Which is kind of nice, because I remember when we picked up the SV650, I was like, oh, we're doing another like modern, you know, kind of neo-retro thing. It's not going to be different enough from the XSR, but this is a completely different motorcycle. Yeah, I'm really surprised. Just going back to back, I'm really surprised at how far apart they really are.
Yeah, so we both highly recommend you guys go and take a test ride on one of them and see which one you like. Hey, thanks for watching the video. Why don't you click this one right over here and you can keep watching some more of your sweet Papa Yam. Maybe this one will have fun memes in it. Maybe it'll be interesting. Maybe I crash a motorcycle. Who can say? Maybe you should click and find out.